Yeah, so here we are we're with Dpart. So fresh off the back of hammering the UK top 40 downloads 2 times.
See what you did there.
Yeah. Had to get it in. So, I mean, firstly, how are you feeling?
I feel good.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's been a bit of a whirlwind. Like Declan Rice was originally meant to be a bit of a throwaway track that I kind of just done for a bit of fun and whacked on my Spotify. So for it to have snowballed like it did, it's just a blessing, really. So yeah, I can't complain. And things are going swimmingly, I guess you could say, at the minute.
Yeah, 100%. And it's interesting that you mentioned about a throwaway. I feel like sometimes those tracks which sit in the background and potentially you're reserved about putting out there, they can actually have the best effect. So it's good that you took that plunge and you got it out there. I mean, just to be clear for everyone watching this, the two top 40s that I'm referring to is, of course, the album and Declan Rice.
Yeah.
I was interested to understand more from like a fan's perspective, which of those two strong successes felt more special to you?
I think Declan Rice felt like more of a success and resonated more with me personally, only because like my two main things, well, aside from my missus and my kids, because she'll kill me if I don't say it. Aside from them, like my two main things in my life are literally music and football. Like before the lockdown started, like football and going to West Ham to watch him play was literally like my escape from normality. My escape from never miss a home game. Oh, really? Never miss a home game. I ain't actually been to any away games yet. So some people say I'm a bit plastic because of that, but I just haven't been able to get tickets. Literally football and music are like my escape from reality. It's like going to a football match is therapeutic for me in a similar way to what doing music is. And not only that, but my granddad, who was like one of the best guys in the world, literally like every memory I have of him is of him sitting on a couch in my nan's house and his house, obviously, wearing a West Ham top. So West Ham is so deep rooted into my family history that to be able to infuse my two passions and make a success out of it is as meaningful for me as it gets personally. Yeah,
100%. I mean, you kind of beat me to it. It was one of the points that I was going to bring up. I remember looking at your Instagram and there was the post of the stadium with Declan Rice playing, and I think in that caption you mentioned about your granddad, Tony, and how much that meant to you.
Yeah, the world.
So yeah, I was interested to kind of understand, like, not only it reaching the heights that it did, but with that family background, how much more special did that make the feeling of reaching that? I think it was 22 position, wasn't it, in the charts?
Yeah, it's just the whole thing was like. So I made the song. Originally, didn't even plan to put it on Spotify or anything. I was just going to put it out as an audio on YouTube because I originally had a bit of problems with the beat, so I couldn't release it for profit use. So originally, I was just going to release the audio on YouTube. And literally, I can't remember what it was. I think I posted the cover art for it on Facebook, and someone commented, "You should try get this on Soccer AM. They love that sort of stuff." And I thought, all right, cool. And then I didn't even send him an email. I literally DM'd the host, John Fenners, and literally it doesn't even follow me. So, but by all means, I should have got lost in the abyss of requests. But as soon as I sent the message, literally notification straight away. Yeah, sounds good, mate. Pop it over. And I just was like, whoa. And then that happened. And then like from then it literally snowballed. It was very, very like the whole Declan Rice from the rollout to the release to even what it's doing now has been very surreal. And I think that's because it was so unexpected, because it was genuinely intended to just be, here, have that on the Spotify. This is a bit of me, if you know what I mean. And I still can't really explain how it happened, but it just did.
Yeah, I think you say can't explain how it happened, and from like an outside perspective, from me looking in on it, it looked like the success that it achieved was a result of the scene coming together. Because one thing that you make really clear in both the success of your album, but also Declan Rice, is it was independent, completely independent, no paid promotion, all your own work, and ultimately as well, the scene coming together, which I think we've seen with Getz's album, is everyone coming together to try and achieve that collective goal, if that makes sense.
100%.
So I wondered, like, if you could shed a bit of light
Mm.
how hard it is to achieve success being on your own and being independent. I think that would be a good insight.
We're in an era where you can basically pay for fame. Like essentially, like you've got other artists out there. I'm not going to name any names because I'm not here for that. Sure. But you've got other artists out there that can literally spend £2,000 on a visual, spend £2,000 on an all singing, all dancing PR campaign, which gets them into the press. Once they've got that press, they become verified, and then suddenly they're a big deal, if you know what I mean. And people will assume that that's, or the rappers like that will try and give off this idea that they got there through hard work when it wasn't really that. They just had the money to spend on it. So for me, it's I'm an average man. I'm an average man that makes music for the average man. That's my whole thing. Like I've got 2 kids. I've got a house to pay for. I've got a missus at home. Like I can't get my pay slip or whatever money I earn from whatever I do. I can't get that money and invest all of that money into music, because if I could, it'd be a shutdown, if you know what I mean. So when you're completely on your own doing it without the power, you can't compete with people who pay for these PR deals, or you can't compete with labels or people that have got management or people who know people that are connected. And the only way you can go to war with them type of people, it's not a competition, but at the end of the day, if you want to chart high, then you're going against other people to take that position. So the only way you can fight people who have them kind of advantages when you don't have them is through people power. And because if you're standing there on the front line, you're against someone who's got high-tech tanks, and you're going to get obliterated. But if you're standing there on the front line with 1,000 other people screaming the same stuff as you, like, yeah, the tank will shoot you, but it's only going to hit 3 at you. Do you know what I mean? And there's still going to be a lot of people charging. So I guess that's an analogy I would use. Yeah. But it's definitely if you don't have the money to invest in the project to get it seen by the right people, and you don't know someone, then your only other option is to just work your absolute arse off until someone thinks, bloody hell, he's been working a while, I'm going to help him now. And that's kind of the path I'm on, I think.
There's 2 things that I picked up on that you just said there, and one of them which I want to address kind of initially, which is ultimately kind of how hard it's been for you to get into this position and how easy it has been for certain other people to get into the position. So I wondered, from an honest perspective and an honest answer, how does it make you feel knowing that there are people out there that at the click of a finger after one release are potentially above where you are right now after in excess of 10 years hard work?
There's definitely a sense of bitterness that you can put your heart and soul into something for over a decade, and then someone who knows someone with connections, or someone that's just got mummy's credit card on deck to just splash 2 bags or something on a PR campaign, and then suddenly be where they are. I think the thing that's most annoying about these people is that some of them will talk about struggle in their music and financial struggle in their music. But how can you talk about financial struggle when you've got $2,000 to slap on a visual, if you know what I mean? And they almost try and mask the fact that they've clearly got help behind the scenes and that everything like this is happening organically. And the reason I don't like that is because to a bystander who's not very clued up on music and what goes on behind the scenes, they might look at someone like me and think, hang about, he's been doing it for this long, he's not getting anywhere. And let's face it, like we live in the day and age of bandwagoning. If you've got clout, or if it looks like you're about to bust, everyone all of a sudden wants to be involved. I've seen it with successes I've had. All of a sudden, people that have never cared about my music are messaging me saying, your new tune's sick, if you know what I mean. And it's just a case of, there's a bit of bitterness around it, but then at the same time, if I had the money and I was born into the advantages that they are, would I not be doing the same? So it's hypocritical in a sense, but I think it's natural for me to be a bit bitter that we're in an industry where money will trump what I believe is good music and hard work. And I think it's a natural way to feel, but I also acknowledge that it's probably not how I should feel, but I'm human, innit?
No, I think I completely agree with everything you've just said, and I think that you're right to feel that way, to be honest with you. Yeah. If I'm trying to put like a positive spin on it, which I always try and do, I guess the one competitive advantage that what you've just explained gives you is the fire to put into your music, which makes it come across much more authentic, which I think you see in all of your songs. So I would say that that's maybe one small advantage to the position you're in if you're trying to put that like positive mindset on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, so to come back to another thing that you mentioned, and to be honest, this is just, I'm interested to find out. You mentioned about you've got 2 daughters, sons at home, and you've got a wife that you need to feed.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the people that are not at this position yet and haven't had the success that you have, what were the financial implications of the 2 chart spots that you hit?
I'd be lying if I said they were a lot, and I'm not here to lie, if you know what I mean. The album, I recorded the whole thing in my living room. I'm quite fortunate. I live in a quiet area. Cars don't drive past. I've got a microphone, much like is this the N2A2?
Yeah, M1. God knows.
Yeah. I recorded my whole album on this with that same Scarlett that you got over there, if you know what I mean. And all I've got is a mic stand and a ISO cube around the microphone. I had to pay for mixing and mastering. That comes in at like £30-40 a track. So 10 track album, you can sort of do the math. So the financial implications aren't that damaging when you know how to work around them. Yeah. But then that brings you into a thought structure of, I did this without the ability to invest heavily into the marketing side of it, the playlist inside of it, the distribution side of it. So what could this have done if I did have them advantages? Yeah. That then comes into your head. But it's annoying when you think about it as well, like as an idea of like how, I wouldn't say fixed, but how rigged in a sense this whole thing is like the UK top 40 is determined on streams, but you can pay to be on playlists. And if you pay £40-50 to be on a playlist that has 500k followers and you get 100k streams from that playlist, you might chart because you paid for that playlist. So then that begs the question, did you chart because your song was good? Or did you chart because you have money? Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
With that in mind, and I genuinely don't know the answer to this question, I wonder if you do. So you mentioned about the streams element. Do you know how long a stream has to be for it to count towards a chart? Does it have to be in excess of 50% of the song, or is it literally the moment that...
I feel like, I know on YouTube it's the first 15 seconds. I'm not 100% on streaming, but I think it's the first, you have to listen to at least 50 seconds of the track.
It's not a lot though, is it, in the grand scheme of things? When you consider 3-4 minutes is the track, someone could literally listen to it, think, oh, I hate this, move on, and it counts. Because they're in that position that they've paid for themselves to be into, like you say. So
but at the same time, I don't want to sound negative. And no. like I said, if I was born into riches, or if I did know someone in the industry and I did have someone that could open doors for me I can't open myself, I wouldn't hesitate to utilize that money, or I wouldn't hesitate to utilize those people. So it's not a thing where I'm saying I hate you because you got money and I hate you because you know people. It's a sense of I don't know how to explain. I just hate the fact that I wasn't given those advantages and I've had to work that much harder because of it, I guess.
I understand. Yeah. No, it's a good explanation. And it kind of brings me to the next point, which I wanted to move on to. And it almost intertwines with the fact that we were saying about people coming together to form that bond together to achieve a collective goal. So I wanted to speak about your warm-up session, and off camera we've spoken about Jamal and how much of an influence he's had upon your career. And I feel like that it's a really communal feel there. So I just wanted to understand what your relationship's been like there, because I know specifically in your new warm-up session, you referenced the fact that you did one 10 years ago. So I wonder what that journey's been like and what your relationship's like there.
It was a strange one with SBTV. I did a really random freestyle. I'd say it was about 11 and a half years ago, just on my estate with a few of my friends. It was like a cypher. And it was on a channel called, I don't know if you remember it was a channel called Greasy TV.
No.
And basically, it was just a throwaway freestyle. I think it only got like 1,000 views or something like that. And I remember I like 2 months after it came out, I was looking through the comments and I saw a comment from SBTV and it said big. And like 10 years ago, and not to say that it's not now, but like 10 years ago, SBTV was like fucking hell, this is big shit, if you know what I mean. Like, this is the biggest channel in England. It's I think 10 years ago, I'm not sure how old Link Up is, but I want to say at the time, it was definitely one of the only urban music channels out that had over 1 million subscribers, that's for sure. And for him to have commented on it, and everyone kind of knew that he was the man behind the account. So I knew it was him. So as soon as that happened, I emailed him straight away and said, thank you for checking out my freestyle. Glad you liked it. I would love to work with you at some point. And then next thing he said, let's do a warm-up session. So I was like I've grown up watching this shit. Now I'm going to get to do one. It's a funny story of how that warm-up session went. I was performing that night at a rave in Watford, and it was an ultraviolet rave. So they told me that I had to wear vibrant colours because they would shine on the stage. Yeah. So I thought, I didn't think much then. I bunned way too much weed. And I thought, yeah, I'll get dressed up ready for the show. I'll go do the warm up, and then I'll hop on the train straight away and go down to Watford and get that done. So I basically went to this warm up session looking like Ella the Elephant on acid. I wore the most ridiculous Ray-Bans that I probably nicked out of a car the night before. And I didn't know who Socks was. I don't know if you know Socks. He's a Birmingham grime MC. I didn't know who he was, but I filmed the freestyle, and I was so stoned that I didn't deliver it anywhere. Like, I had, at the time, a warm-up session was a big opportunity. Yeah. If you smashed it, you were kind of halfway in the door. I did not smash it, like, by any means. Like, it was so on the other end of the spectrum, you can't imagine. It was monotone. There weren't really any emotion in it. I spat on the floor right at the beginning and made myself look like an absolute scumbag. It was the worst warm-up session I've ever seen. Like, Jamal, if you're watching, can you delete it, please? Because I would actually rather it not even be out there. Luckily, I had a different name back then, so it's not easy to find anyway. But it was an absolute flop. And then it came out, and all the comments kept saying, like, this guy looks like Socks. This guy's dressed like Socks. Why is he trying to look like Socks? I had no idea who this guy was. And then I YouTubed him, like, Socks. And then I looked at him, and as soon as I saw him and how he was dressed and the glasses he was wearing, I was like, shit. Like, it actually looks like I went to that warm-up session as a Socks cosplay. And the hate that the video received because of it was just insurmountable. Just way more dislikes than likes. Like, it got shat on, basically. And at first, I thought I'd completely fucked up. I thought, that's it, I fucked up now. And I let it die down for a bit. Luckily, today's news becomes yesterday's chip paper. Yeah. Yesterday's news becomes today's chip paper, sorry. But that's why doing another warm-up session was so important to me, because not only did I want the platform, because who doesn't want a platform when you're in my position, but from a personal standpoint, I had to redeem myself, because that original warm-up session has genuinely haunted me for 10 years. I've woke up seeing Socks in the middle of the night. Like, it's some scary shit. So yeah, that was the main reason why I was so glad that he let me do it. And it took a while to make happen, but I now understand that that's because he was looking to bring back warm-up sessions in a certain way. And it was that series that I particularly wanted to do for the reasons
to overcome the past,
to literally say I can now finally rid that from my mind, and know that now if someone types in Dpart warm-up session, they'll see something which I think was slept on massively.
It's incredible.
I genuinely believe if you're a Pot of Paper, if you're a Mike Righteous, if you're any of those artists that have got even a little bit of clout around their name, and they come out and do that same warm-up session with that level of passion, word for word, I think you're talking about one of the best warm-up sessions. And that's not me being arrogant.
I agree.
That's just me knowing that I put all of my being into something and being confident in my ability. And like, I felt something when I was doing that. Like, I feel like it was almost like an out-of-body experience. I genuinely...
Not in a bad way, but I genuinely think you look a little bit possessed in that video. Like,
I think Doze was with me, and he drove me up there, because Doze is another artist who I've worked with for like literally the whole time. Like, I wouldn't even do music if it wasn't for this guy. Like, I grew up listening to these guys doing grime sets, and that made me want to do music. And like, he said to me afterwards, he was like, there's a few bits of that where like your voice changed, and I didn't even realize that I was doing that at the time of doing it. And I think it was like, you got to think from my point of view, this is not only a big platform where I've got a chance to really sort of state my claim and say, this is me and this is who I am, but it's also something I genuinely been waiting 10 years to do. And I think when that belief and passion to make it and that kind of wait to actually get a platform culminates, you get that warm-up session.
Agreed. 100% agreed. And one thing that I wanted to speak about, which is literally in alignment with what we've just been discussing, is some of the lyrics within the warm-up session. And I guess to draw on my earlier point, which is kind of maybe a small competitive advantage that you have, is the experiences that you've been through, which give you the pain to put into the lyrics that you deliver today.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, again, from an outside perspective, from someone that's a fan and that's watched your content, it seems like it's stemmed from childhood, which is a couple of the things that you reference within the warm-up sessions. So without quoting it line for line, one that was really stuck out for me was about being left in Spain.
Yeah.
So I wondered if you could give a bit of context for that, because I think in the lyrics you see a snippet and then you can kind of imagine, but you don't know the full story, if that makes sense.
Quite simple, really. So we moved to Spain. Like, my dad always talked about, we're going to go live in Spain one day. We're going to live in Spain one day. And I literally remember, like, me and my sister just woke up one night and they were like, we're going now. And obviously at the time I thought, oh, wicked, we're going to live in Spain. Like, this has always been on the cards, if you know what I mean. Now thinking back to it, we was doing a runner. I still can't tell you from what, but that's what was happening. We was doing a runner. So we did the runner, went and lived out in Spain for 2 months, lived in about 9 different villas, which obviously at the age of like, I think I was like 10 or 11, I just thought it was normal. Like, we rent in one place, then rent in another place. Now realizing that we was just renting a villa, skipping out, renting another villa, skipping out on it. And but when you look at things in hindsight, you start to realize like what exactly was being smoked, if you get what I'm saying. And we was basically on the run from whoever, and we was doing it in Spain, basically. And I don't know the exact details, but I didn't have a passport. So back then, I don't know if it's still like this now, but if your child doesn't have a passport, your name can be on your parents' passport and they can get you into other countries with it. So I never had a passport, but my name was on my dad's passport. Long story short, my dad flew back to England to do something and got caught, basically, and went back to jail, obviously with his passport. I'm still out there without one. So it's all a bit blurry. I was very young, but all I know is that my stepmom moved hell and high water to get me home. Like, I remember walking around like Madrid, asking anyone who would listen, where's the embassy? And we had to attend like at least 10 or 11 different meetings at this embassy just to like, so they could legitimize who we were and why this has happened and things like that. And we ended up stuck out there for another month. But all I really know about it is I couldn't get home because my name was on my dad's passport, and my dad's passport wasn't there. And my stepmom went ham to get me home, and she did whatever it takes. And that's why I say bigger up, because she stayed with me. Because if you want to be very real about it, she wasn't my mum. She wasn't my blood. My dad had obviously fucked her over by doing what he did as well. So by all rights, she could have said, fuck him, he's not my problem, I'm going home. And let the embassies and the authorities deal with me. She didn't do that. She stayed with me. She made sure she looked after me, did whatever it took to get me back with her. And I'll never be able to thank her enough for that, because God knows what would have happened or where I would have ended up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, from my perspective, thank you for the explanation. I think it's cool. Powerful to drill into a specific lyric or a specific statement and then understand the context behind that for everyone that's watching. So I appreciate you going into so much depth on such a painful topic as well.
The thing that people need to understand about me is, like, when I say this, when I say like, this ain't just music, this is deep art, and I talk about mental health, and I say to people that, like, I am happy to air my dirty laundry so my music is relatable, because I get DMs on almost a daily basis saying, thank you for making X, Y, and Z song, because it helped me realize that it's okay to da-da-da-da-da. And like, my whole thing is, I'm happy to talk about my struggles so people know that they're not alone in theirs. And that is my whole thing. And I'll be completely honest, I gave up most hopes of ever really blowing like a year or two ago. And I kind of thought, I'm going to come back and do music, but I'm going to do it because I enjoy the process.
For a purpose.
And I'm also going to do it because I genuinely think I can help people at the same time. And then if anything comes of it, as a result of that, that's going to be a bonus, if you know what I mean. That was always my intention and still is my intention, which is the reason why, even though Declan Rice, which was quite a gimmicky song, did what it did, I've still reverted straight back to doing what I was doing before it, because I could have easily changed styles to just facilitate for the crowd I'd gained for that. But I've got no intention of doing that. So with that being said, if this is my intention and this is my main reason for doing it, I wouldn't be me if I swerved questions like that. Yeah. So I will be as what's the word?
Transparent.
Yeah, as transparent, as open as the question is asked.
No, I appreciate it. And even in your answer right then, you referenced mental health, which kind of took the words out of my mouth with where I was looking to go with kind of the next question and to draw upon another lyric. And I feel like in a lot of your content, you reference mental health as an issue, and it falls in alignment with what you've just said about looking to help other people with your content, which I think is powerful. And one of the lines, I will quote this one as I don't want to get it wrong. So in the warm-up session again is, can you honestly tell me that you've never struggled with your mind, had thoughts you didn't want but had to conquer over time? So that was really powerful for me. And I guess I just wondered if you could explain a bit about your journey, which, like you were just saying, will help other people that find themselves in a vulnerable mental position.
Do you want to know one thing I think about that lyric? And I could be wrong in saying this. I think everybody has intrusive thoughts. I don't think it's a condition. I don't think it is something that only some people are burdened with. I genuinely think that everyone at one point in their life has intrusive thoughts and things that pop into their head, and they think, why the fuck did I think that? Am I a sicko? Am I a prick? Am I a hater? Am I like whatever it makes you think about yourself? And like the thing you got to realize about intrusive thoughts is you could think that your mind, you're not in control of your mind. Even though it's in your body, you're not in control of it. If it wants to splurt something out into your head, it's splurted and there's no taking it back. The really bad people in this, if you have an intrusive thought, like, I don't know, let's think of one like that someone might have. Like you're walking down the stairs at a train station, someone's in front of you and you think, I could just push them down the stairs. If you have that thought and then laugh to yourself and think, yeah, I should push them down the stairs, and then push them down the stairs, then you're a fucking bad person. If that intrusive thought pops into your mind involuntarily and your initial reaction to it is disgust or dismay, or why the fuck did I think that? What's wrong with me? If you have an intrusive thought and think that there's something wrong with you because you're having it, that is a good thing, because that means that you are a good person. Because it's the people without the moral compass and it's the real sickos of this world that would have them thoughts and then not be worried about them or even act on them. So when I say that lyric, have you ever had thoughts you didn't want over time? There's a couple of reasons for it. It's because of that, what I said about intrusive thoughts and how I've had them, and there's something that you've got to train yourself to get used to and live with. Because when you first have them, you think you might be schizophrenic. You think you might genuinely be losing your mind, but you do learn to school yourself on them and almost smile when you get them and think, haha, mind you, I know what you're trying to do, but if you can go and fuck yourself because I'm cool.
So yeah, no, I really appreciate, like I've mentioned on many occasions, how in depth you've been with your answers and how deep and raw you've been. But I do want to put a positive spin on the end of the interview and kind of understand off the back of the successes that you've had recently, especially with Declan Rice, which we've touched upon heavily, what your goals are for the rest of the year.
Yeah, man. One thing I think success is really subjective to what you as a person want to achieve rather than what people think is successful. And I prioritize that over what other people think is success. And like, I get a lot of people say to me like, oh bro, you've been rapping for 12 years. Your numbers on YouTube are dead, bruv. Like, why are you still doing it? And it's like maybe that's your idea of successful, but like my idea of successful is releasing a single and the captain of my football club following me and talking to me and going live with me and my song being played at my football team stadium and it getting into the download chart. That's my idea of success. Like my idea of success is at the moment, like West Ham legends that pop to mind, like Paolo Di Canio, Bobby Moore, people like Declan Rice are going to be legends in that same sort of term when my son is older. So when my son is older, like in his 20s, he'll be able to tell his friends that, oh, my dad made a song about Declan Rice back in the day, and him and Declan Rice, I chat to him most days now. Like he messages me all the time saying, oh, your new song's sick. I feel like he's my mate. So I've managed to forge a relationship with the captain of my football club as a result of this single. That's my idea of success. My idea of success is I've had a top 40 chart place twice that will always be in the history books and that can't be taken away. So when my kids are sitting around the table having a little drink when they're 17, 18, and they're taking the piss out of their dad because he used to be a rapper, I could turn around to them all and say, well, I charted. So, that's my idea of success.
Yeah.
So my plan is, I kind of got a bit lost for a while. I think social media is the reason I got lost. I almost started to see interaction as currency. Interaction is not currency. And you should never get obsessed over interaction. It's going to go up, it's going to go down. And half of the time, it's only going to be a result of what that social media is trying to achieve at the time for itself. Yeah. So I try not to worry about that too much anymore. And now I've achieved what I wanted to achieve, I want to get back to basics, which is making music because I enjoy the process, making music that can help people at the same time. And I just want a bit of credibility. Yeah. I want to be, when I wrap up, which will probably be in 2-3 years, I'm done. Like 100%, without a doubt, unless it's paying my bills, because it just won't be viable anymore. So I just want a bit of credibility, and I would like to be looked back on as maybe someone that opened the gate a little bit for real rap. Yeah. And like people actually talking about real issues to make a bit of a comeback in the scene, because there's not a lot of it nowadays. I'd like people to see me as a bit of a pioneer, a bit of a trailblazer, and I'd like to just go down as someone that had a good crack at it and actually did quite well in the end, if you know what I mean.
No, it makes complete sense. And to be honest, you've answered probably my second question, which was going to be...
Keep doing that, sorry. I've got my Mystic Meg hat on.
Nice, good.
Everyone's going to be watching this thinking, who the fuck is Mystic Meg?
But yeah, no, you really
I'm old.
But yeah, no, I guess you really have pretty much touched upon the point that I wanted to say. So like off the back of that success, what would you have to achieve to go above it? And you've answered that. So it's more about the legacy that you want to leave.
Yeah, and
the message, which makes complete sense and is admirable from my perspective. So I guess to wrap things up, and firstly, thank you for an incredible interview.
Thanks
I'm certain it will get great reception. But
it's nice to feel wanted.
Good. Yeah. And I mean, I wanted to know, how have you found the process, and also what would you say about Discovery as a platform for people that don't know about us before watching this today? Yeah,
it's great. One of the main reasons I wanted to do it is because I saw the interviews with Mally. I saw the interviews with Sykes, who obviously I know. And I just liked how in-depth they were. And I just liked the fact that even though I had those artists on Instagram, I felt like I didn't really know them properly until I watched the interview that you guys did with them. And that's what I want to do. Like I touched on before, people know Dpart and people know the brand that I'm trying to build, but people don't know Dean, if you know what I mean. And I wanted to give people a bit of an insight into Dean. And there's a few things as well, like there were a few people when I did the mental health album and I marketed it heavily around mental health, and I donated some of the proceeds to a charity and stuff like that. There were a few murmurs out there of people that said, oh, you don't even have mental health. I can tell just by looking at you. You were just exploiting mental health to sell a project. It's like, well, no, I chose a subject. It was mental health. I based an album around it. And naturally, the marketing was going to be based on what the album's about. And that's why I wanted to sit down with you, tell you a few stories in detail so that people might think to themselves, oh, bloody hell, that's why he is how he is. And that's why he writes about what he writes about. Because in the nicest possible way, I haven't got anything else to write about. So it's all you're ever going to get from me. And that's why I say this ain't just music. This is Dpart, because it's not just music to me. It's therapy. It's an outlet. It's a release. It's everything. I breathe it. Like I wake up in the morning thinking about what I can do next. And I go to sleep repeating the same things over and over in my head, and probably dream about them as well. And I just want people to see how important this is to me. I just want people to see how much their support means to me, because if people, if everyone on my social medias and stuff decided to stop supporting me tomorrow, I'm Thanos. I'm gone, like literally. So I wanted people to know how important they are, and just get a bit of insight into me as a person, and maybe understand why I am how I am, and that there's no, when I say I have no filter and I'm happy to talk about anything, so that people know that they can talk about anything, I'm not lying. If you know what I mean. This is me.
No, 100% incredible answer again. And I think we'll wrap up there. One thing that I would like to finally do, which if anyone's got this far, I'd like to think that you'd take the time to subscribe as well. So I never, ever do this. I'm awful for it. And it's one of our main focuses this year is to build that YouTube. So please do subscribe if you watch this. And yeah, thank you, bro.
No worries. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.